In this session, we will discuss about histology of esophagus. When we are discussing about histology of stomach, we have already discussed what are the different layers present in the GIT. What are those? Mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, adventitia or serosa. In case of esophagus also, we will see all these layers. There will be mucosa, mucosa contains lining epithelium, lamina propria, muscularis interna, then submucosa. After that, muscularis externa. After that, adventitia. These are the layers which are present in the esophagus. Now we will see one by one. What is the lining epithelium of esophagus? If you see, after esophagus, almost all part of the GIT except the terminal part of the GIT, that means in the anal canal, remaining part of the GIT lined by columnar epithelium. Esophagus and terminal part of the GIT, that means anal canal, lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. So, what is the epithelium of esophagus? Stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. After that, there will be connective tissue. That connective tissue what we call lamina propria. After that, muscularis interna. That muscularis interna contains more longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. Then submucosa. Submucosa contains moderately dense irregular connective tissue. Then muscularis externa. In the muscularis externa, there will be inner circular muscle fibers, outer longitudinal muscle fibers. Actually, if you see the upper part of the esophagus, muscularis externa made up of skeletal muscle fibers. Middle part, both skeletal muscle fibers and smooth muscle fibers. In the lower part, only smooth muscle fibers. This is the basic structure of esophagus. Now we will discuss all these layers one by one with the help of diagram. See, this is the basement membrane of lining epithelium of esophagus. What is the epithelium here? Over the basement membrane, columnar epithelium. There will be columnar epithelium. Over columnar cells, we can found polyhedral cells. So, here polyhedral cells. Stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium contains basal columnar cells. Over that, polyhedral cells. Over polyhedral cells, there will be flattened cells. Those are squamous cells. So, here I am drawing flattened cells. This is the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. See here, basal cell layer made up of columnar cells. Over that, polyhedral cells. You have to draw 4 to 6 layers of polyhedral cells. Over that, you have to draw more than 4 layers of flattened cells. So, columnar cells, polyhedral cells and flattened cells. This epithelium is stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Here, you have to keep nucleus for all these cells. Here, I have kept nucleus for columnar cells and polyhedral cells. Then, now I have to keep the nucleus for the squamous cells. So, squamous cell nucleus keep little elongated. This is the lining epithelium of esophagus. Why I have drawn invagination here? Esophagus contains longitudinally arranged mucosal folds. That means, here one mucosal fold, here one mucosal folds, like this so many vertically arranged mucosal folds are present, right. So, that is what in between the folds this invagination I have drawn here. This is one fold, this is another fold, right. So, this is the lining epithelium of esophagus. Below the lining epithelium, we can find the lamina propria. Lamina propria made up of connective tissue. Within the connective tissue, we can find the connective tissue fibers, connective tissue cells and ground substance. Along with that, within the lamina propria, we will find diffused lymphoid tissue and also some spherical aggregation of lymphocytes. Those spherical aggregation of lymphocytes what we call lymphatic follicles, right. Now, I am going to draw lamina propria along with some lymphatic follicles, clear. So, here this is the connective tissue. So, here connective tissue fibers, we can find the connective tissue cells and the ground substance. So, this is the lamina propria. In some places, lamina propria invaginating into the epithelium of the esophagus. These invaginations what we are calling papillae. See here, this is one papillae, this is one papillae, this is another papillae. Like this, so many invaginations are there. Those invaginations of connective tissue into the epithelium, what we are calling papillae. So this is papillae and this is another papillae. Here also one more papillae. Like this, so many papillae are present. So this is Lamina Propria. In the connective tissue, we can find connective tissue cells. So here I am drawing the nuclei of connective tissue cells. Then, as we discussed, in the Lamina Propria, we can find some spherical aggregation of lymphocytes. Those spherical aggregations of lymphocytes, what we call lymphatic follicles. Here I will draw few lymphatic follicles. This is one lymphatic follicle, this is one more lymphatic follicle. If you want to draw, you can draw one more lymphatic follicle here. This is the Lamina Propria. After Lamina Propria, we can find Muscularis interna. Remaining part of the GIT contains inner circular layer and outer longitudinal layer. These layers are thin. Thin layers of inner circularly arranged and outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers will be present. But in case of esophagus, we can find more amount of longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. Very few circularly arranged muscle fibers will be there. To avoid confusion, I am drawing only longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. Here, longitudinally arranged cut sections of muscle fibers. These are longitudinally arranged muscle fibers, and here I am keeping nucleus of those muscle fibers. This is the Muscularis interna or Muscularis Mucosa. This is the lining epithelium. This is epithelium. Right? Epithelium is stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Then this layer is Lamina Propria. Then this layer is Muscularis Mucosa or Muscularis interna. These three layers together what we are calling mucosa. These three layers together what we are calling mucosa. Then can you find any glands in the Lamina Propria? Usually in the middle part you cannot find any glands in the Lamina Propria of the esophagus. But in case of upper part and in the lower part of the esophagus, you can find some mucous glands which are present in the Lamina Propria. Those glands which are present in the lower part of the esophagus, what we call cardiac glands. That means they are present near the cardiac end of stomach. That's what those glands which are present in the Lamina Propria, what we are calling cardiac glands. Those are the mucus secreting glands. Okay. I didn't draw those glands here to avoid confusion, but you remember that in the upper part and the lower part, Lamina Propria also contains mucus glands. Lamina Propria of lower part of the esophagus contains mucus secreting glands. Those mucus secreting glands what we call cardiac glands. Along with that, we can find some blood vessels also. We can draw few blood vessels. Here, endothelium of these blood vessels. Then, next layer is submucosa. Submucosa made up of moderately dense irregular connective tissue. So here we have to draw moderately dense irregular connective tissue. Here I am drawing dense irregular connective tissue. These are connective tissue fibers. Then I will put some connective tissue cells. These are the nuclei of connective tissue cells. Then within the submucosa of esophagus, can you find any glands? Yes, you can find mucus secreting glands. These are tubuloalveolar glands or tubuloalveolar mucus secreting glands present within the submucosa of esophagus. Those glands what we call esophageal glands. So let me draw some esophageal glands. These are mucus secreting glands. That's what I am drawing, mucus acini. These are the mucus acini. That means acini are secretory portions or portio-terminals lined by columnar cells or pyramidal cells. These cells contains flattened nucleus. Those nuclei also push towards the basement membrane because of the mucigen vesicles. So here we have to draw flattened nucleus. That nucleus should be present towards the basement membrane or pushed towards the basement membrane. These are submucosal glands or esophageal glands. I will draw some more here. These are the mucus secreting esophageal glands. Ducts of these mucus secreting esophageal glands will be opening over the surface of the epithelium. You can see some ducts here. These are the ducts of these esophageal glands. Then anything is present in the submucosa, of course we can find some amount of adipose tissue. So let me draw adipose tissue here. Adipose tissue means what? Group of fat cells or group of adipose cells. What is the shape of adipose cell? Signet ring shape. So here I will draw some signet ring shaped cells. That means I am drawing adipose tissue here. Nucleus will be pushed towards the periphery so that these cells looking like signet ring. What is the structure of adipose cell? This is the cell membrane or plasma membrane of the adipose cell. It contains very large fat droplet. So most of the cytoplasm filled with this fat droplet. Because of that, nucleus will be pushed towards the periphery and it is oval. So nucleus of adipose cell. And what is this? Here is the cytoplasm. There will be thin rim of cytoplasm which is present around the fat droplet. So this is the structure of adipocyte. Like these cells I am drawing here. Here also adipose tissue. Then is there any other structures present in the submucosa? We can find nerve plexus. Those nerve plexus what we are calling Meissner's nerve plexus or submucosal nerve plexus, right? So we can find some nerve plexus also. Somewhere you can find the nerve plexus, right? So this total layer from here to here, this layer what we are calling submucosa. This is mucosa, this is submucosa, right? Very simple. Submucosa made up of moderately dense irregular connective tissue, contains esophageal glands, some amount of fat tissue also present, then Meissner's plexus will be present. Along with these structures you will get some aggregation of lymphoid tissue, right? So this is about the submucosa. Then after submucosa what will be there? Next layer is muscularis externa. Muscularis externa made up of inner circularly arranged muscle fibers and outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. In case of upper part of the esophagus, you can find skeletal muscle fibers. In the middle part, mixed, both skeletal and smooth muscle fibers. In the lower part, only smooth muscle fibers. To avoid confusion, I am drawing the lower part of the esophagus, so that I can draw only smooth muscle fibers, right? Here, inner circularly arranged smooth muscle fibers. These are spindle shaped muscle fibers. Draw all smooth muscle fibers in the spindle shaped manner. These are the smooth muscle fibers and they are arranged circularly. So these are circularly arranged smooth muscle fibers. Here I am keeping the nucleus of those cells. All cells not came as spindle, but you draw as spindle shaped. These are inner circularly arranged muscle fibers. Next, outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. So here longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. These are the cut sections. If you take the smooth muscle fiber, this is spindle shape and here is the nucleus. If the knife passes through this, you will find the cytoplasm along with nucleus. If knife passes here, you will not find the nucleus. We can find only cytoplasm. So that is what in the book also, in some places they will be keeping the nucleus, in some places they are not keeping the nucleus. It does not mean that there is no nucleus in that particular smooth muscle fiber. Knife didn't passes through the nucleus. When the knife passes through the nucleus, you will find the nucleus. If knife not passes through the nucleus, if it passes away from the nucleus, you will get only cytoplasm. Is it? So these are the smooth muscle fibers. This is inner circularly arranged muscle fibers and these are outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. In between the inner circular and outer longitudinal muscle fibers, we can found intermuscular connective tissue. Here you can found the intermuscular connective tissue. Within the intermuscular connective tissue, all connective tissue substances along with blood vessels and nerve plexus are present. That nerve plexus what we are calling myenteric nerve plexus or R-box nerve plexus. Myenteric nerve plexus or R-box nerve plexus will be present. So here you can found some nerve plexus. These nerve plexus what we are calling myenteric nerve plexus or R-box nerve plexus. So this is muscularis externa. This is muscularis externa. What is next layer? Next to the muscularis externa, is it serosa or adventitia? Actually, esophagus is not covered by peritoneum, so it is adventitia only. Adventitia made up of fibrous tissue containing blood vessels, nerves, connective tissue fibers, connective tissue cells, along with that some amount of adipose tissue. So let me draw adventitia here. This is connective tissue which forms the adventitia. Here you can find some blood vessels. This is vein and this is the artery. Here also this is vein and this is the artery. And here we have to keep the endothelium. Endothelium and the nucleus of smooth muscle fibers which are present in the blood vessels. Then adipose tissue will be present. So same structure I am drawing here. So this layer, outermost layer, what we are calling adventitia. It is not serosa, it is adventitia. This is the structure of esophagus. To explain with the help of diagram, I took this much time, but to tell only the features of esophagus, it takes only few minutes. See, this is the lining epithelium, lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. This stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium made up of basal columnar cells, over that polyhedral cells, and the superficial cells are flattened cells. Those are squamous cells. That's what this epithelium is, stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Then lamina propria. Lamina propria made up of connective tissue, contains connective tissue fibers, connective tissue cells and ground substance. Along with that, we can find some diffuse lymphoid tissue and also aggregation of lymphocytes. That spherical aggregation of lymphocytes, what we are calling lymphatic follicles. In case of upper part and lower part, lamina propria of esophagus contains some mucus secreting glands. Those mucus secreting glands, if they are present in the lower part of the esophagus, those glands what we are calling cardiac glands, right? Those glands I didn't draw here, right? Then next layer is Muscularis mucosa. Muscularis mucosa, usually it is made up of inner circular, outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. But in case of esophagus, abundant longitudinally arranged muscle fibers will be present. So that is Muscularis mucosa. Then submucosa. Submucosa made up of moderately dense irregular connective tissue. This connective tissue contains glands. That means submucosa contains glands. That submucosal glands, what we are calling esophageal glands. These are mucous glands, right? That's what I have drawn mucous acini here. Ducts of those glands piercing the muscularis interna, then lamina propria, then they pass through the surface epithelium and opens into the lumen. These esophageal glands are compound tubulo-acinar mucus secreting glands. Along with that, we can find some adipose tissue, some nerve plexus. Those nerve plexus what we are calling Meissner's nerve plexus or submucosal nerve plexus. Then muscularis externa. Muscularis externa made up of inner circular and outer longitudinally arranged muscle fibers. In case of upper part of the esophagus, we can find skeletal muscle fibers. In case of middle part, we can find both smooth muscle fibers and skeletal muscle fibers. But in case of lower part, only smooth muscle fibers. Those are inner circularly arranged smooth muscle fibers and outer longitudinally arranged smooth muscle fibers. Then adventitia. Adventitia made up of fibrous tissue, that means connective tissue. Here we can find some amount of fat, blood vessels and nerves. So, this is the structure of esophagus. That is it for this session.